peeps and spellbinders, my name is Courtney Diaz from Little Raven Ink, and I've been invited back to show you a fun and different way to use the Not Quite a Blank Slate templates that you can get from the Make and Faces range. Now the pack comes with quite a few designs and a few blank pages for you to go crazy with, but today I want to show you how I would customize and have a play with one of these designs. Now this isn't so much of a tutorial, but it's definitely to show you a different and weird way to go about using these. I know they are fabulous for using in your journals. You can color them in, you can cut them out, but I wanted to show you something that I would do in order to sort of really push the boundaries with these sorts of things. Now Jane has done some beautiful artwork on these, and I do want to keep a lot of the artwork very much Jane-like, but there will be a few little bits and pieces in there that are very much me. So what I have done, and something that you will need, is some tracing paper if you want to do something similar. I have traced out, as you can see, her top is there. So I've traced out her top, I've traced out the section where her hair is, and I've also traced out this section here. And I also traced her face. Now the reason being is I want to add some journaling to this, but I also want to keep having some of those bright colorful pattern papers that you can find in the Whimsical Girls book. Now I have grabbed out this sheet, which is at the back. There are some collage papers at the back. I would normally use the washi tape sheets as well, but I've actually used all of mine up in the previous tutorials, so I'm getting a bit desperate for collage papers. So this book is filled with pages that Jane has started for you, and they are perforated, so that means that I can tear them out without feeling too bad. You may gasp a little, but I've grabbed a couple of these, and that's purely to save time. You can definitely make your own collage papers using all the Make and Faces and Artymology range, but because I want this to be a quick and simple tutorial for you today, well, as simple as I can get you, this is why I chose to go the collage paper route. But normally I would create my own painted papers and then use those, but today we're going with the time-saving option, which is always great if you want instant gratification. And I have just traced around those things. I'm just showing you an example here. So there's her shirt there, and I am going to back that with a little bit sturdier paper because it is a little bit thin, because I want this to actually tip down so that this area here can be used for journaling. I am a journaler at heart, and I do like to incorporate words with my art. One of my taglines is where art and life collide. So I want to make sure there is room for journaling, and I think these are great spots for journaling, but we're going to hide them underneath some patterned paper. And that means that if you want to do some private journaling, you're very welcome to. But it also just means that you've got something really beautiful, bright and colorful, and then underneath you can have your words. I'd also put like a little date here and make this sort of like a highlight thing that I like to do. Sometimes when I don't have time for journaling, I make little highlight week creatures and things. So this is a great way to do that. You can put like a number or a day there, which I will show you in the sped up version of this video. I'm also have cut out her face because I'm actually going to Stanley knife around her face, but I'm going to keep her ear attached so that it acts like a lever, and then it'll be like a little door. And because I am the weird and the wonderful and like my creatures, I've actually pulled one of my creatures from one of my collage sheets that I want to pop into her face because I want to make her very robot-esque, and I wanted to make it look like she was being controlled by one of my kooky creatures. You know me, I love the weird and the wonderful, and I couldn't do a tutorial without having some sort of weird and wacky thing. I could definitely put a creature inside her chest cavity as well, and I may very well do that. We shall see where it takes us. Now I've actually pulled out the stickers as well because I love this little girl in the boat, and I think we could make her hair almost like waves and have her sort of floating along the wavy sea. These are the sorts of things that I kind of look at when making things for you guys or making things for myself. I think, how can I surprise certain things? How can I try and be a little bit different? And I think this is a fun way to sort of alter something that is already very beautiful. I definitely could change her face features with some collage elements, but we're trying to keep it simple today, simple and quick for you guys. So you can grab your not so quite blank slates and go crazy with altering. I also want to give her some mini buns, and so I'm actually picked up one of the floral stamps, and I'm going to actually give her some little pink mini buns as well, maybe even a fringe if I want to go for a self-portrait. Bright pink hair, mini buns and a fringe, I could definitely do that, but it means that you don't have to just go with what Jane's given you. You can alter it and make it your own, and this is exactly what I'm going to do and show you today to give you guys some ideas on how you could use these. Now I would then tip this into my actual journal. It is a little bit too big for my normal journal at the moment because I'm a size down, but definitely will go into one of my other journals because I just think they're just too much fun. So I'm going to pop into speed and do my creative thing. If you would like to follow along, you definitely can. I will give you some instructions in the voiceover, but definitely this is more of an inspirational video to show you what you can do with these beautiful supplies and these fun things that Jane has given us in the Make and Faces range. So let's get started. I grab my templates that I've cut out of tracing paper and I take them to my collage papers, and I start looking for the sections of collage paper that I actually really like the look of and think will suit my tip in. And then I basically trace around them and cut them out. It's a very simple step, and I do that with all the bits that I want to turn into flaps on my tip in. I then take my hot pink box cutter. I could not find my craft knife, so a box cutter it is, and I cut out the shape of the head. Now keeping in mind that I want to keep the ear not cut because the ear is actually working as our hinge. So I'm making sure that I cut around the face and leave the ear intact, and that creates a little doorway which then creates a window for our creature to hide behind. I then go in with my palette pastels. As you can see, I've already made a start. I used a whole heap of the Make and Faces supplies as well as my hot pink smooth marker, and that is to use all those different shades of pink to create the dimension in her hair and just layering them and blending them in together until I was happy with how it looked. I also made sure I used my color sticks and watered them down to create a light wash of pink. This wasn't captured on camera because my battery died, but I put the color stick down first, and then I started working in my palette pastels and the smooth marker and making them all sort of blend together in a very harmonious pink wave of her hairstyle. I then get to work on making some mini buns. Now I'm using my palette pastels and my smooth marker just to haphazardly create some pink in varying shades, and then I grabbed one of my my squid ink pads in the black, and then I got a flower from one of the Build a Bouquet stamp sets that came out with the Artmology range, and I thought they were the perfect size for mini buns. I did happen to cut out the outer area of the flower because the mini bun was a little bit too big with the whole flower, so half the outside got cut down. Now as you can see here, I am scoring the bottoms of my collage tip-ins, and that's so that the hinge is really easy and flips without any problems. So I'm just scoring them with my bone folder and then making sure they are sort of folded back so I know exactly where that fold is. Now when I add the collage papers or the lined papers to the back of those, I won't add any to that hinge, so that I'm just using a really thin piece of paper for the hinge, and I'm adding some tea-dyed paper to her t-shirt. This gives it a little bit of visual interest, and it also has a grid on it so that I can write nice and straight when it comes time to do my journaling, and it also covers up all that white space. That will also be covered up with our tip-in, as you can see right there. Okay, so I've attached some tea-dyed grid paper down here. This is going to be where some journaling is. I also attached some lined paper to this, and you saw me score these edges, and that is so when I tip these in, this will be glued down, this section here, so that it makes it a lot easier for these to be moved and to act as an interactive tip-in. And I also will do the same to these pieces as well. I'll probably add some lined paper in here for my journaling, or I might just color it in and freehand my journaling down here. What I'm going to do here is I want to give her, you saw me creating the floral mini buns. I'm actually going to attach these to this tip in, because this is going to tip in and up, which is going to have this bit exposed, and if I was to add these mini buns to here, they would be covered up by this tip in, and I'm not a fan of that. So I decided that I would position them. Once I was happy with how they looked on her head, I would then just add that little section, to glue that little section down to our tip in. So she'll have mini buns until you move this up to see the journaling, and then she won't have buns. Now I am going to give her a little short fringe, and I want to do that just by sort of doing a really blunt sort of fringe like so, and then I want to come in with my smooth marker, and that's because I want it to be nice and bold, and just color in that section there, and this gives her a completely different look. I would normally use the License to Quill pen, but I am not that, confident in my brush skills. So we're just going to give her some little cute bangs with a black pen, like so. And instantly you've changed the way she looks by giving her a short little cropped fringe, and you just sort of bring those lines in and help sort of build them into the already image, so it looks like they were already there. And then you've got that, and to add some interest, because she's going to have a creature behind her, I decided that I was going to make her a bit of a cyborg. And so I want to add some metal panels into her face to sort of show that little cyborg way, and to make her look a bit like a robot. So I'm just adding little panels of, I guess, metal to her to give her that little cyborg look and to make her a little bit different. So I've just adding very simple lines, and instantly you've got a completely different look. I am going to color these in with the smooth markers again. I could use the color sticks, but I don't actually want a watercolor effect. I want a really flat sort of metal look for these sections. So you can definitely use your color sticks if you have the gray, which I would do if I didn't, if I want it to look more painterly, but I want these to be very nice and flat. So I'm just coming in with my smooth markers instead. Now it's time to grab all those beautiful art supplies and start working on the face. As you can see, I'm just doing my metal plates as I explained before, and now I'm going in with my color sticks. Now as you can see, I'm just taking my paintbrush and using it to wet and taking the pigment off the color stick, because I'm working in such a small space, and I didn't want to sort of throw in that really big chunky tip from the color stick, so I think it's easier to do it this way, and it also gives a little less pigment, so you can always build your pigment up this way instead of going straight in with a harsh line of the color stick. I prefer to go in with the paintbrush and have it watered down on the paintbrush and then build up. Now I use a whole heap of different supplies here. I use the perfect match paint, I use the drama sticks, I use the color sticks. I kind of do a bit of everything to sort of get the perfect shade, and that's basically what you will need to do as well if you want to play around. That's the whole point of this set, is to be able to perfect match your face, and so I enjoyed having a play and working in those skin tones. I don't do it often. I work very much in the blues and the greens and the monster colors, so I was a little bit rusty, but I completely enjoyed the process of sort of building the face up from nothing and making sure I add all those little warmth tones and using that beautiful opaque velvet pastel for the lips. And I also come in with the velvet pastel in the hot pink to add more dimension to my hair. I love how the Velvet Pastel gave so much more dimension to her hair. I love that it's opaque, but you can still see some of those beautiful sketchy lines that Jane's given us on that actual base, and it was just the perfect touch. High five for the Velvet Pastels. I then come in with some blue watercolor, and I'm just sort of slapping that down onto the top of the page very haphazardly, because I knew that I was going to come in with my shimmering pastel in the blue and sort of create some more dimension. I have that beautiful little sailboat sticker that I grabbed out of the Whimsical Girls book, and I wanted to really pop that in there and make it look like she was floating on, like sailing on her hair. And so I decided to make sure that the top part looked very ocean-like. My little smooth marker there, just doing some squiggly lines. Very creative decision, I decided. And then I just popped that sticker in there, and it means that I've got a little bit of visual interest underneath that tip in, but still enough room to add my journaling, which is exactly the point of these little tip in pockets. Therefore, adding journaling to my tip in at a later date when I get to it. And I loved how they all sort of worked really well in together. These pastels blend so beautifully into this card, and the smooth marker had absolutely no issues with sort of sketching over it, which I was very pleased with. Now I'm just sort of tracing out the section where my mini buns need to be adhered to that tip in, because I want them to flip up with that tip in, so I needed to make sure that I had them happily placed on my picture. And then I decided to glue them down onto my tip in and then start adhering those flaps to my original base, and I am really happy with how it looked. It looks a lot more in-depth and hard than it actually is, and I want to stress that to you. It may look like it is fiddly work. I'm not going to lie to you, it's fiddly, but it is totally easy, and just a matter of using tracing paper and cutting and pasting a lot of things. So if you're down for cutting and pasting and collage is your heart song, then this project is definitely for you guys. So even though I had a black head all done out, I didn't like how it looked. He got a little bit lost, so we're going to go with purple. Now what I want to do is, because I'm putting this inside, essentially I need to make this space, this one, slightly bigger so that it has room to be glued to the back of the sheet. So I'm just going to freehand a little bit around. So this bit essentially will be the bit that adheres to the sheet and will have glue on it. So I want to make sure that I've got enough room to be able to do that without any issues. And then I'm going to use my color stick and sort of just freehand around here. And I want the edges to be a little bit darker. That's why I'm sort of going in a semicircle. I'm going to add my water to activate it. And then we'll get a sort of like almost like a cave or a headquarters, because we're going to pretend that my little monster is controlling our beautiful robot girl. So I'm just going to make sure that that's all sort of colored in. He's going to take up a lot of the space, so I'm being very haphazard about this. I might need a little more color stick. And you can also use your brush and take pigment straight from the crayon without having any issues. It's really, I actually almost prefer it that way, because I want to get my pigment into small areas, and this helps be very precise with where you place your pigment, whereas if I was to go with a crayon, I would almost revert back to being a kid and just wanting to color in all the things. So we've got that there. That's pretty much all I want to do. Now I'm just going to cut this little guy out, and you can see that he sort of fits in there and he looks much better than against the black. Even though I like the idea of the black, he just got too lost. So I'm now going to just cut him out and glue him in there, and then just sort of make sure that he works with the purple. So we've got our head there. We're going to make sure that's all positioned, and close her up and make sure that that all works. See, it's a little bit too wet, so it might dry that, cut that, and start installing that into our girl's head. And that, my dears, is all done and dusted. So we have a multifunctional tip in where she's got some mini buns, a little bit of journaling space, a hidden creature, and we've got journaling space here and here. Now I'm not going to do the journaling on camera because that is something that is private to me, but I would definitely add some photographs or something like that in here. I added a little heart to her t-shirt, a little bit of Valentine's vibes, and it is amazing to think that when I started, this is the blank slate that I was working with, and now she is a full-blown colorful robot goddess, and I hope that has sparked something in you guys to sort of play and have a really good time pushing the boundaries of your supplies, and to think about what else you could do to a simple little card that is in the not quite a blank slate. In the pack comes this girl here, and this lovely lady here, and this one, and then you also get a really beautiful frame, which would be fantastic just as a journaling tip in already, or just to color it in. You could even fussy cut around there and make it a window. There are so many things that you can do with these. They are begging to be colored and played with, and just to really put your own style into things. And then Jane obviously gives you a few blank ones to play with. I've already been playing around with the blank ones, and then a canvas board as well. Paint till you faint. So that was a really cute little nice added in bonus there for you guys to have a play with. But I am so happy with how it turned out. It looks like it's bursting with color, and I'm absolutely in love with it. And I hope that this has sort of shown you that you can really do some cool things. Even though it's just a simple little sheet, you can take it to the ends of the earth. You just have to have a little bit of imagination and a little bit of patience. Even though I said this was a quick and easy thing, it is quite fussy when you get down to the bones of it, but it's just a matter of adding and fussy cutting and just playing, really. So it didn't take me all that long to do, but it's definitely a fun little project for you if you would like to follow along. If you'd like to do the same thing, it is very simple, just some tracing paper, some colored collage papers of your own, and then you can kind of just go with the flow. So I hope you've enjoyed this video with me. Thank you again to Spellbinders for inviting me back to show you what I would do with the Making Faces range. I hope this has sparked something in you, and I hope you pick up a set of your own and make your wildest creatures and ladies come true. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.